For dinner tonight, I am making SEMUR Ayam, which is an Indonesian style stewed chicken with potatoes. And so now I'm just going to mash up our paste. Here we have shallot, garlic, candle nuts, and ginger. Now, if you don't have a mortar and pestle, you can absolutely do this in a blender, but I just prefer to do it this way whenever I make Indonesian food. Today, I'm going to be using drumsticks. You are more than welcome to use whatever cuts of chicken that you like, preferably with the bones in. And now I'm just going to rinse the chicken. Now into a hot skillet, we're going to add a little bit of oil. Here I have some lemongrass stalks that's been bruised, some lime leaves, and star anise. And now we're just going to add our paste. And now we're just going to add our chicken. And now we're just going to add a little bit of salt, chicken bouillon, a little bit of white pepper, and nutmeg. And now gently give it a toss. And now we're just going to add a little bit of water. I forgot our cinnamon stick earlier, so I'm just going to add it here. Once this comes to a boil, we're going to lower the heat, cover, and we're going to cook this for about 20 minutes. In the meantime, here I have about 1.5 pounds of potatoes. I'm just going to peel them and cut them into small pieces. After 20 minutes, we're just going to remove the lid. We're going to add the potatoes. And now we're just going to add some kecap manis, which is Indonesian style sweet soy sauce. This is pretty much a staple in everyone's kitchen in Indonesia. Now we're just going to drizzle it right on top, maybe about 1/4 to 1/3 cup or so. We're also going to add a little bit of oyster sauce, maybe about 1 to 2 tablespoons. And some Worcestershire sauce. And now we're just going to gently mix it all together. And you also want to make sure the potatoes are submerged in the sauce. Once this comes to a boil, we're just going to lower the heat and cook this without the lid for about 25 minutes. After about 25 minutes, we are done, and now we are ready to plate everything. And every time I eat Indonesian food, you know I have to eat it with my hands. I just added a little bit more gravy on top of my rice. And now it is going to be perfect. For dinner tonight, I am making creamy Tuscan shrimp with mashed potatoes. Honestly, you can probably call this marry me shrimp. I still don't know the difference, and I use them interchangeably because they're pretty similar to me. You've got heavy cream, Parmesan, sun-dried tomatoes, but here I have about 1.5 pounds of shrimp. I'm just going to peel them and rinse them. These are kind of big, about 8 to 12 count per pound. And I'm just going to season the shrimp with a little bit of salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning, and smoked paprika. Give it a quick toss. Set this to the side and let's make mashed potatoes. For the mashed potatoes, I like using gold potatoes. You can use russet potatoes if you like, and I'm just going to peel them and then cut them into small pieces. Into some water, I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I cook my potatoes like I cook pasta. Now add the potatoes in. One of the challenges with cooking and filming at the same time is that I can only do one thing at a time, because normally I'd be cooking the mashed potatoes while I'm cooking the shrimp, but that will be kind of confusing during filming, so I'm just going to do one thing at a time. And now we're just going to cook this for about 15 minutes or so until they're fork tender. While the potatoes are cooking, I went ahead and diced up some onion, minced some garlic. And here I have sun-dried tomatoes, probably the most important ingredient in Tuscan or marry me sauce. You can go ahead and chop this up, but this already came julienne sliced, so I'm just going to leave them as is. Into a skillet, we're gonna add a little bit of olive oil, a pat of butter, and now add the shrimp. We're gonna cook this for about 2 minutes on each side, not all the way through because it's going to finish cooking in the sauce. Now transfer the shrimp into a plate. Add a little bit more oil into the skillet. Add your diced onion. We're gonna cook this for about 4 minutes. And now we're just going to add our sun-dried tomatoes. Again, you can add as much as you like, and you can also chop them up. Again, I like it like this, and if my kids don't want the sun-dried tomatoes on their plates, they can easily take them out. I'm just going to add a little bit of the oil here. Also, some minced garlic. We're just gonna cook this for a few minutes. To this, I'm going to add the same seasoning as the shrimp. So we've got a little bit of salt, some black pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder. Again, this is one of those recipes that you can add whatever seasoning that you like. I've got smoked paprika, a little bit of Italian seasoning. I'm also going to add just a little bit of chili flakes. I feel like it needs a little bit of heat. And now I'm just going to add about a half a cup of chicken broth. You can also use white wine if you like. We're just going to let this simmer for a few minutes. And now we're just going to add some heavy cream. Some freshly grated Parmesan. And I don't know how much you should add in this, as much as you like. And now we're going to add some spinach. Honestly, I always add a lot of spinach in here because you know they wilt. And now we're just going to let this cook for a few minutes until they wilt. Once the spinach has started to wilt, we're just going to check for seasoning. Just need a little pinch of salt. And then we're going to add our shrimp back into the skillet. You can also add some fresh tomatoes in here, but honestly, I don't think my kids will like it. And besides, I don't have any. And now we're just going to let this simmer for a few more minutes. The potatoes are done. I've drained it, and now I'm just going to cover it with a towel for a few minutes. And now mash away your potatoes. Add some melted butter. A lot of salt. And I always use white pepper for mashed potatoes, always. It just tastes better, I think. Here I have some milk steamed with some garlic cloves just to give it that flavor. And I'm just going to slowly add it into the mashed potatoes. Don't add it all at once, just a little bit at a time. So this is pretty much how we like our mashed potatoes. You can of course add sour cream, cream cheese, some Parmesan in here, but whatever you do, just make sure that you do not undersalt mashed potatoes. It needs quite a bit of salt. Let's give this a try. I've got a little bit of shrimp, a little bit of mashed potatoes and spinach. For dinner tonight, I am making Katsu Curry. Here I've got some carrots, some potatoes, some ginger and garlic. And now I'm just going to peel the carrots and potatoes and cut them into small pieces. Katsu Curry is a Japanese style curry, and we're also going to have it with some thinly sliced chicken breast. I'm going to coat that in some panko and fry them. I almost forgot, you're also going to need an onion. Into a skillet, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil, add the onion, a little pinch of salt. We're going to let this onion sweat for about 5 minutes. Now after about 5 minutes, we're going to add a little bit of tomato paste. And now this is optional. I just really like the flavor of tomato paste in this curry. About a tablespoon or so. And now we're going to add our minced garlic, grated ginger. And now we're going to add our potatoes and carrot. Give this a stir. And now we're just going to add some chicken broth. Give this a stir, and we're just gonna let this come to a boil. And this is the curry mix that I'm going to be using. Now there's no need to add any more seasoning to this. This packs a lot of flavor, but in the end, when you give it a taste and you feel like it needs a little bit of adjustment, you can do so then. This is now widely available in most grocery stores in the international aisle. Now this is mild. If you want it spicier, there's a spicy option that you can use. And I'm just going to add 2 cubes in here. We're just going to give it a stir. It's going to thicken as it cooks, and we're just going to let this simmer for about 15 minutes or so. So while the curry is cooking, we're gonna get started on our chicken. Here we've got our frying station. We've got some flour. Here we've got eggs and milk and some panko breadcrumbs. And now I'm just going to season the flour. Here we've got salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, and the panko. Just give it a stir and whisk the eggs and milk. So here we've got some boneless, skinless chicken breast. Now I purchased mine like this. If your grocery store doesn't offer that, you can just buy regular boneless, skinless chicken breast. And what you want to do is cut it in half lengthwise and pound it thinly. But it does need to be pretty thin, just like that. And now we're just going to dip it in some flour, then the egg, and the panko. And now you just want to press the panko down gently onto the chicken. And then you're just going to shake off the excess panko and repeat with the rest of the chicken breast. And now here comes the fun part. We're just going to start frying. Now you can probably do this in an air fryer or even bake them in the oven, but I just personally prefer deep frying this chicken breast for the crunch, for the flavor, all that good stuff. Let's see if this oil is hot enough. Now this is not going to take long to cook, maybe about 2 to 3 minutes on each side because they are pretty thin. The curry is done. The carrots and potatoes have softened. Now this is a time when you want to adjust your seasoning. Personally, I think those curry mixes have so much flavor. You don't really need much else, but you can always add a little bit more spice to it if you like. All right, you guys, so let's give this a try. I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite meals. We're gonna start with the chicken. Can you guys see that? All right, now let's try the curry. Got a little bit of carrots, some potatoes, and rice. Oh my God,
dinner
so
tonight, I am making stir-fried beef with, well, I was supposed to make stir-fried beef with udon noodles, but I forgot to buy the udon noodles, so I'm just going to use ramen noodles. You can pretty much use whatever noodles that you have available. You can even use spaghetti. Here I have a boneless, skinless ribeye. I placed it in the freezer for about 30 minutes so that I can slice it easily. I'm just going to slice this pretty thin. You can also use flank steak or whatever cut of beef that you like to stir fry with. To the steak, I'm going to add a little bit of cornstarch, a little bit of baking soda. This helps tenderize the meat. Some soy sauce, about a tablespoon or so. And a Zhaojing wine, which is Chinese cooking wine. And I just give it a toss. And set this to the side while we prepare the other ingredients. For the sauce, you're going to need some beef broth, some soy sauce, a little bit of dark soy sauce. You can also use oyster sauce. A little bit of the Chinese cooking wine, some sugar, and Chinese 5-spice, that's optional. And just a little bit of cornstarch. And just give it a stir until the cornstarch dissolves. I know this may look like a lot of sauce, but I really love my stir-fried noodles to be saucy, extra saucy, and also the cornstarch is going to help thicken it up a little bit. For the veggies, here I have some broccoli. You can use whatever veggies that you prefer. If you are using broccoli, just be sure that they are the same size florets. We also have some green onion. I'm just going to cut this into about 1-inch pieces. I have a half of an onion that I'm going to slice thinly.
I'm just going to cut the ginger into matchsticks. So the noodles that I'm using, you can purchase this at an Asian grocery store, or you can just use regular ramen. It's only going to take about 2 to 3 minutes to cook. After 3 minutes, we're just going to strain it and rinse it with cold water to stop the cooking process. Into a hot wok, you're going to add a little bit of oil, and then we're going to add the steak. After a few minutes, you're going to transfer into a plate. And now we're going to add our onion. Add the broccoli. A little bit of the sauce. And now we're just going to close this and cook for a few minutes until the broccoli have slightly softened. We're going to add the ginger, garlic, and green onion. I'm going to give this a quick stir. After about a minute or so, we're going to add our noodles and the steak. And now we're going to add our sauce and give this a stir. After about a minute or so, we're just going to turn the heat off, and then we're going to drizzle a little bit of sesame oil, just a little bit, and give it one more stir. All right, and now we are ready to plate. Now I like to add a little bit of chili crisps right on top. Oh my gosh, look how good that looks. And now here's the best part, eating it. For dinner tonight, I'm making pasta with pesto and air fried salmon. For the pesto, it's super simple. You're going to need some basil. And if you don't have basil, you can always use spinach or kale or whatever type of greens that you like. You're also going to need a couple of cloves of garlic. Normally, I would use pine nuts, but I didn't have any. You can also use walnuts, hemp seeds, or whatever type of nuts that you like. Here I have pumpkin seeds that I've roasted. Some freshly grated Parmesan, of course. Some lemon juice to brighten things up. And a little pinch of salt. No need to add pepper here because basil is already very peppery, at least for my kids it is. So I'm just going to skip the pepper. And now with the food processor on, you're going to slowly add your olive oil. I'm just going to give this a taste to see if we need a little bit more salt. No, it's perfect. Here I have some salmon fillets, and I'm just going to brush a thin layer of Dijon mustard. You can also do regular mustard or even mayo. And now I'm just going to season it with a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and smoked paprika. And now we're just going to flip this and do the same with the other side. And don't neglect the sides. Make sure you season the sides also. In the meantime, we're going to get started on our pasta. I'm just going to add some water. Just going to add some salt to some water. And we're going to cook our pasta al dente for about 10 to 11 minutes. And don't forget to reserve some pasta water. Even if you don't think you need it, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Now this is optional, but I'm going to add about a cup of frozen peas into the pasta during the last 2 minutes of cooking. Into a large bowl, you're going to add as much pesto as you like. We're going to start with about a half a cup. And now add some of that reserved pasta water. Give it a stir. And now add the pasta. And give it a quick toss. I'm just going to grate a little bit more Parmesan. Give it one more toss. And now we're ready to plate. All right, let's give it a taste. Let's try the salmon. If you've never tried air frying your salmon, give that a try. And that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will see you next time. Bye.